really dark in here, but we're gonna try to make this like as chill as possible. We're talking about Love is Blind season 4. Holy. First of all, that was crazy. I went into, watching Love is Blind, season 4, thinking, because when you finish a season, you're instantly, you have to sit there, let it process, all that was season 3. Season 4 shocked me because I went in thinking I was not going to be hooked into it. And it ended up being my favorite season, and there's a lot of, points to talk about when it comes to season 4 of Love is Blind. But when I tell you, like, season 4 took me on this, like, ride, like, this emotional, like, roller coaster, there was some moments that I was like, oh. We're just gonna dive right into it. The lighting's not working in here, so I may have to kind of, like, change up where I go, but okay. I don't want to go too deep into, spoilers. We're going to start off with just the originals, and then we're going to go into, like, the couples, which, some of the ones I start talking about is a couple now. But we're going to start talking about these, individually first, because you're going to see, like, within the personality types how, this kind of lined up with this, this kind of lined up with this. But, let's talk about them, like, individual first, because that's way easier. I don't want any spoilers, but let's start off with Bliss. First of all, Bliss is beautiful. A complete, sweetheart. She's gorgeous, Not much to say about... I just took my vitamins this morning, so I'm kind of a little bit raspy, but Bliss is beautiful, That's all. I don't want too much of a spoiler there with who, until, like, a little bit, so we're just gonna, like, stand on that, There's not much to talk about there. Okay. Brett, you can just see, watching him on the shows, that Brett is, like, very much, a career person. Like, he grinds hard. Like, when he wants something, he goes after it, and, like, that's so much, that's incredible. You can tell, like, there's not much to say right there either. Brett was one of the, favorites in the show, I feel like, and there's not much else to say there. Chelsea. First of all, there's a lot to say about Chelsea, because when I tell you, when it came to finding her partner on Love is Blind, and that's what's amazing about the, show, is that when you're watching Love is Blind, you never know who's going to end up with who. You never know. But what amazed me is how, when Chelsea found her partner in the pods, how perfect the two lined up together. And that's, when she found a partner, it's like her personality really matched up perfectly. Because when I talk about Chelsea, individually in the pods, before she even like found her partner in the pods, she's beautiful, she's independent, she's smart, she's very straightforward, and that kind of aligns with who she ended up with at the end. And she's very mature. When you see Chelsea in the show, there's something that you automatically can pick up. Chelsea's very mature. Chelsea's very straightforward. She's beautiful. She's gorgeous. She's, and that's how, when she ended up finding her partner, I'm like, this is perfect. And we're going to talk about the, who ended up with who in a minute, but, like, watching it, it's like gorgeous, knockout. And when I see Chelsea in a dress, like, watching the show, I'm like, girl, you are a knockout, gorgeous. You just know, from watching the beginning to the end. And there is a lot of growth in Chelsea. Okay, first of all, we got a few standpoints on Chelsea here. Baba, she's got this, like, blanket, like, Baba, and I remember watching that, and I'm like, oh, her in the blanket, like, we love Baba. And then like, her, or maybe I mispronounced it, Baba, is it? And then, her dog, that is so cute, her and her dog. I can't remember the name, but, like, she, Chelsea is 100%, watching the show that she's going to, find her person. We already know that. We're coming down to Irina. We're gonna talk about Irina just for a second here. First of all, Irina's gorgeous, and don't come in. I think that's the hardest part when you're on a specific show. And we're gonna like get comfy here just for a second, you know, because we're kind of doing this like podcast style, I guess you could say, and it's kind of like no lighting, we're kind of chill, we're relaxed here. But when it comes to Irina, she's very gorgeous, and you know, we can't say she's not gorgeous, because when I tell you, she's very pretty, you know. But the problem when it comes to, you know, television shows, we need to get this like firm understanding that when it comes to TV, it's their job to capture everybody's moments, not just Irina. It's just the one there. You know, when it comes to television, they want success really badly, and that sometimes comes along with, you know, just speaking on Irina just for a second. It obviously, she knows that she made some bad decisions on the show. Obviously, she knows that, you know, we shouldn't punish somebody, you know, because I think as individuals, we always have bad moments. I mean, nobody is perfect, you know, ever, you know. But when it comes to television, it's their job to capture every moment. But obviously, when it comes to television, you can tell that it's like they're gonna, you know, get the worst moment possible, or not. I don't want to call it, you know, worst moments, but it's their job to capture the most, that's going to get the most attention, I feel like. So when it came to Irina, it's just, I don't think they get to pick, you know. And I know that when it comes to reality TV, they call it the, you know, they call it the quote unquote villain, but I don't think anybody on televisions, you know, and there's somebody else that was like considered that too, and we're gonna, you know, come down, just, you know. But, you know, when it comes to TV, it's their job to capture the worst moments. But we as people, we gotta understand that you know, we gotta understand that if we were in the same position, we can't help, you know, what's picked up on and what's not. And sometimes, as they want to get the moments that they know is going to succeed, make the show successful, and sometimes that includes getting the worst moments possible, and they can't help who gets the worst moments. It's just they want people to, you know, keep watching, and you know, we need. And sometimes, you know, a lot of people, or anybody in particular, they go on these shows and they're like, you know, everybody, when it comes to being on TV, we can't help that the worst moments are captured, you know, the good, the bad, you know. They want success, and they want to pick up on the moments that are going to get the most attention. And for Irina, that included her worst moments. And I think she's just human. You know, everybody has bad moments, and the show wants the moments that's going to be talked about, and that's all I'm going to say. You know, I think she learned, though. I think that everybody makes mistakes. It is what it is. And, you know, all we can do as humans is learn from them, and, you know, that's all we're going to say on that point. That's just the standpoint that we are going to just, you know, leave it on that. You know, coming down to, oh, I never know how to Jacqueline. Sorry. And it's kind of hard to, why I'm talking about it individually is because, you know, you see in a show, you know, couples like Mitch, Max, you know, the first person they end up with the show, we never know when they're going to go back and end up with somebody else. So that's why you want to talk about them individual before, you know, talking about them, you know, who they ended up with in the end. For Jacqueline, you know, that was one that, you know, you can see the worst moments was captured as well, you know, and I can't imagine how hard that must be. But I can say this, she's very funny. She's got one of those, she's very pretty and she's very funny, you know, and I think anybody just gets stressed out at times. But, you know, she's very beautiful and very funny, you know, and sometimes, you know, again, it's the show's job to capture, you know, moments that sometimes we don't want it, you know, to be captured. I didn't really learn too much about her on the show, you know, but, you know, but what I will say is that she was, you know, she tried to be very honest, tried you know, and sometimes, you know, again, it's the show's job to capture the worst moments, and that's all, you know, we're gonna say that. Josh D. I did not know, as I was pulling up the cast list, that I did not know that there was two different Josh D's on the show, or two different Joshes on the show. You know, we don't, you know, I just kind of picked random, because there's a lot of standpoints when it comes to season 4 or whatever. There's two different ones. There's Josh D, and then there was another one. And sometimes, you know, a lot of people that, you know, did not find their, you know, person or in the pods find someone they align with. It's kind of hard to figure out like who goes where, because, you know, we don't see a lot of them that just, you know, gets, you know, sent home, or yeah. But, you know, Josh D, I will say this, I'm watching him on the show again. It's the show's job to capture stories mode, but he is hilarious. You know, I was watching, you know, him in some of the moments, and I was like, it's hard not to admit that he was a very funny person on the show. It's hard not to admit, you know. Coming down to Kwame on the show, I can just tell that he's everybody's friend. You know, everybody loves Kwame, and, you know, you can tell that, you know, he genuinely tries to be everybody's friend, you know, tries to keep everybody together. You know, everybody loves Kwame, you know, everybody. And again, I was watching the reunion, you know, I was like, they really do the most. You know, people watch the show and they try to pick random things to talk about, and some of it may not be entirely true. And when I was watching the reunion, everybody was like, Kwame's sister is not a paid actress. And I'm like, that was really, or what was it? I can't exactly remember. And I was like, they're like, yes, that was Kwame's sister. And I'm like, really? That was a thing? Because I've always assumed it was his sister. You know, I would have never, you know, picked up on something like that. And it's like, yes, that is Kwame's sister, you know, not some like paid actress. Like, she was actually his sister. And I'm like, that was really a thing that somebody said. Like, anyways, moving down to Marshall, you can tell Marshall's very serious, you know, very straightforward, very a person that you want to like say, oh, gets the job done. Everybody talks about Marshall's facial expressions throughout the show, and I remember watching it after the altar, and, you know, his facial expressions, like the Marshall face. I think that's so funny. Okay, moving on. Micah again was considered, you know, just like Irina, kind of like the, anyways, she's gorgeous. You can tell she's very sweet. She did, you know, sometimes you just do the best you can. And Micah, girl, you know, I'm not trying to, you know, get out any rumors. You know, Micah, I hope you find your perfect match, queen. You know, I hope you do. You know, you know, everybody deserves to find their perfect match. I'm not trying to send out any spoilers here, but, you know, I hope you do well, girl. Monica. Okay, Monica, I don't know what to say on that standpoint right there, because we did not see this part until the very ending. It's like when you're watching the ending and, you know, we see something big happen and we don't ever know what happened in the end. It was kind of like one of those, you know, standpoints. It's like, oh, it's randomly brought up, but oh, it's in the end, and we don't know, you know, what else to say on it. You know, we don't, you know, we just see it for a second, and we didn't see, you know, we originally see where Monica was, you know, engaged to, you know, somebody else, and then that person ended up being with somebody else, and it was very random, and we see it in the end. It's like, oh, is this gonna be like a big thing? And then the show ends, so we don't ever know what, you know, happened. I didn't do any research again, but it's just very random how she came about, and, you know, it's kind of hard to tell what happened there, but it kind of shocked me in the end. You know, it was wild. She was just that random person. I was like, oh, I didn't know that, because, you know, when it came to the engagement with her and somebody else, you know, did somebody just like, can somebody answer this question for me? Because I don't know. I did not do any research. All they said is that she posted a proposal, you know, she wanted her story heard, which is valid, but, you know, I don't know whatever happened there. I cannot believe it took me this long to finish the rest of this video. Like, there's other seasons of Love is Blind, and I'm like, on this one. Anywho, we're going down to Paul. So let's talk about Paul. Honestly, when watching this season of Love Is Blind, Paul resembles a lot of, Zach, and you see Zach got the rough go of it, and Paul, had an easier time, I think. But honestly, when you're watching Paul on Love Is Blind, you don't really, it's kind of hard to see like a lot of his personality quirks. I think I wasn't able to form an opinion, but honestly, watching the show, I didn't get any like major red flags. Paul's just like a chill type of person. It was really hard to pick up on his personality quirks. I'm excited to talk about this next one. Tiffany. I think what made TV show gold is when you're watching Love Is Blind and you see the very first part of it. It's in the like earlier episodes of Love Is Blind. You see the girl fall asleep, when she's like, Brett is like pouring his heart out to this girl, like all like straight up pouring his heart out, and then the cameras like switch over to Tiffany and you see Tiffany asleep. I was like really worried. I was like, that's when I was like, is this, if this couple makes it, Brett and Tiffany, and spoilers, they did. If this couple makes it, like, that's perfect. Like, that's like a true Sleeping Beauty moment, And honestly, I was like, why didn't the producers just like go in there and wake her up? It was like, I was like, why didn't them producers just go in there and wake Tiffany up? I mean, they really could have. They didn't have to do her like that. Going down to Zach. Honestly, Zach looked like he had a rough go on Love Is Blind. But honestly, when I am looking at Zach, the criminal defense attorney, I honestly, look at Zach, and I'm like, honestly, he's like the perfect person. Zach, I loved everything about Zach on Love Is Blind. I loved his personality quirks. He's a very hard worker. Him and Bliss was just perfect. The way he like proposed to her, like that unplanned proposal, I was screaming. But Zach was just like, he deserved to find his person on there. And I do follow these people like into their like future journey, and honestly, I loved everything about Zach. You could tell that he was a good guy from watching the show. You can tell that he really works hard to find his match, and he took the show very seriously. And I cried at the unplanned proposal. I was like, that's perfect. Like, bravo, he did it right. So yeah. So we're gonna go down to the couples now, and we're going to start with Brett and Tiffany. Like I said, a true Sleeping Beauty moment there, because honestly, I see a lot of, when you look at like things in the real world, if we was to fall asleep on somebody, it's like, would they come back? But come back. But you know what I'm saying? I'm like, that's perfect. I was honestly rooting for Brett and Tiffany. I loved that they got a happy ending, because you could tell he loved her. Like, you could tell, like, he came back for her. Like, she fell asleep in one of the pods, and he still pursued her. Like, it's perfect. Everything about them too is perfect. Let's talk about Chelsea and Kwame. I love Chelsea and Kwame. At first, when I was like, they are like just alike. Honestly, at first I was like, I'm gonna have to keep watching to be able to tell. I wasn't able to form any opinion at first. But like I said, Chelsea, very hardworking, beautiful, outgoing personality. Kwame resembles the same personality quirk. So honestly, their personalities together tied together very beautifully. Watching these weddings, because I will say, watching the weddings, I was like, oh my gosh. Oh, there's a cat on my table. Sorry. But, watching, Chelsea and Kwame, beautiful. You could see that they work together to, like, overcome challenges. And I was very happy to see them walk down the aisle. I was very happy, and after the altar, I think you see, Chelsea and Kwame going to that ball game, and you see Zach and Bliss with them. That was just so cute. That's like the cutest thing I've ever like seen in my entire like lifetime. Like, that's so adorable. It's adorable watching them go into their journey, and I get so excited when I see the couples like post on Instagram, like especially Zach and Bliss, when they welcomed home their baby. Everything, that was a spoiler, my bad, but I love watching these couples like going from where they came from on the show to like getting married, and then following them into their journey into the real world. It's so perfect. And I'm gonna go down to Zach and Bliss later, but it's just perfect. And Chelsea and Kwame, cutest couple. Cute, so cute. And her wedding dress, Chelsea's wedding dress, stunning. Okay, we're going to talk about Irina again for like a split second, because, Irina started off, I don't want to dig too deep, it's hard to tell. I agree why Irina went on the show. Again, sometimes TV just captures the worst moments. We see who she started off with, and then you see, what went down. And honestly, Irina's a beautiful girl, and I just, it's hard to tell why she went on the show, but unfortunately, when you make poor choices like on a TV, you just know the TV is going to capture it. You just know the TV is going to, that, and I see it all over TikTok, the duo of Irina and Micah. They considered them the two villains, and I don't think, it's like I talked about it, for a split second. I was like, I'm not going to dig too deep into that, because it's just, not something. I think everybody goes through a stage where unfortunately their worst moments are captured, and it's a lot harder when it's caught on television, because there's nothing you can do to like clear it up. It's on TV. And I just honestly felt bad for the two, because their worst moments just happen to be captured. You see them all over TikTok. They call them quote unquote mean girls. I think it was just a poor time, and I think unfortunately for them, it was caught on television, and it's really hard to clear something up when it's on television. But I did see growth between the two girls, and I think they learned. I think they truly learned. Going down to Micah and Paul, that's one of them that didn't make it past the altar. But the way you see Micah, telling him she wants to hear his answer first. Does he think, love is truly blind? And I think that was a true sign that, you speaking on that couple for a second, you see in the show where, you see Micah's friend group, you call it, and you see her friend kind of tear up for a second, and it's like she was like, not the right one for you. It's really hard, because obviously our friends like mean the world to us, and we want to listen to our friends, and it's hard when we want our support from our family, we want our support from our friends. And you do see it in a different couple. I think it may have been Kwame. Yes, Chelsea finally met Kwame's mother. They said so in the reunion, but obviously our family's opinion and our friends' opinion matter, with everything we do. And Chelsea and Kwame, Kwame's mother finally met Chelsea. Yes, they met. Yes, that's Kwame's sister, not a paid actress. They cleared that up, but it's hard. you know, and obviously Micah went on, you know, but that's the best anyone can do. You know, we see her on The Perfect Match, you know, on the second show. Have not finished that one yet, and I try to kind of talk about the seasons, you know, a little bit, but, you know, yeah, it's tough. You know, Tiffany and Brett, again, you know, what a wonderful ending. You know, I talked about that. Zach and Bliss, that was my favorite couple out of the whole entire season. I loved watching the season of Love is Blind. I loved everything about it, but what captured my eyes the whole entire time, I was like, this couple right there. You see that couple overcoming challenges, and then when they finally meet after the pods, it was like TV gold, point blank, because for me, I watched that and I was like, my eyes throughout the whole entire season immediately went to that couple. My eyes was on that couple. I wanted to know the ending of that couple out of every one of them. You know, the others were like, oh, you know, I wonder who's going to say yes, who's going to say no. This one, I wanted to see them make it to the ending, and they did. Like an unexpected proposal in the middle of it. I don't know if any other of the seasons did this, and I don't think they did, but that's why I was like, I literally was screaming, like tossed my phone in the air, and I was like, you know, that moment, I was like, he proposed. I was like, what's she gonna say? You know, and after that, you know, she said yes, and yet we see them like make it to the end, and we watch them now, and it's just perfect. I loved everything about it. That's all I'm gonna say about this season of Love is Blind. This is my review of Love is Blind season. I've watched so many TV shows over the weekend, but I honestly, bravo to these people. You know, you made a really good season. Out of all the seasons of Love is Blind, this one was my favorite. Like, I watched all the seasons in a short period of time, or all the episodes in a short period of time, because it was my favorite. You know, you see so many things happening, it captured my attention. You know, I was truly invested in this season, and thank you guys for watching.